What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you are having a very happy, safe, and healthy Labor Day. Today is Monday, September 1st, 2025. I know that we make the same joke every year when this month ends, that we have to wake up Green Day. So I suppose that means that Green Day is going to sleep today, because so begins the thing that we're waking them up from when September ends. My name is RJ Ochoa. I've been covering the Dallas Cowboys for about a decade now professionally, and I'm appreciative to each and every single one of you who have been a part of the journey for the entire time, whether that was on Twitter, Instagram, Threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok, RJ.Ochoa, at bloggingtheboys.com, where you can read the work of myself and our other talented staffers throughout the Blogging the Boys universe, or here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel, where I am every single day talking all things Dallas Cowboys. We have lots of videos, live shows, and after each and every single Dallas Cowboys game this season, like always, we'll have live post-game shows. You can access those in two different places. One, the most obvious, is right here on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel, so make sure you're subscribed, like I said, or in the Bleacher Report app. So either one of those will work as far as all Dallas Cowboys post-game shows are concerned this year. This has been kind of a weird week to start, a weird game week if you look at it this way or that way, I suppose. Today is Monday for the Cowboys in real life, but it's obviously a little bit different because they play the Philadelphia Eagles in the season opener on Thursday. And so we're all very used to this because the Cowboys, like every other NFL team, play a lot of Thursday games. Cowboys play every Thanksgiving, so we certainly have a lot of experience in that regard. But we talked about how Sunday was Wednesday for the Cowboys from a, week-long process standpoint. So that makes today Monday, even though it's a holiday, and Labor Day, it makes it Thursday. So tomorrow, Tuesday, will mark the final practice of the week, and then they'll travel to Philadelphia on Wednesday and kick off on Thursday evening at 7:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. So that is a lot of fun, to say the least. So we're going to focus on the Eagles today. We have a few Micah Parsons things to hit at the end. If you don't want to stick around for that, I won't blame you. But we're moving on. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just there's still dust settling and some things that we just have to kind of put in their proper place. But that's what's made this whole, I don't know, last 4 or 5 days so strange, is that this massive thing happened. And I understand completely. I share the sentiment of let's move on, let's whatever, because it's not just like, moving on from this massive thing. It's moving on because this massive thing happened right before the whole season starts. So it's a matter of processing things and dealing with them, but also looking forward to an actual game and the season beginning. It's a lot of emotions, and in some ways, I think it kind of disallows the opportunity for time to even think about it, right? Like, sometimes I think we've all been in situations where it's nice to kind of keep your hands busy or stay busy in the midst of some chaos. And I do think that this kind of offers that for the Cowboys and for all of us. So it's good, I guess. I really don't know, but let's get to some early thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles and on the subject of schedules and what they're going to look like here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. Today is Monday, but tomorrow on Tuesday, we'll have an NFC East mixtape with myself and Brandon Lee Gowton. And then on Wednesday, scheduled to have a very special guest, Aaron Andrews of Fox, scheduled to stop by. So that should be a lot of fun. You'll have that in your channel as well. And then, because it is a regular season week, the first one of the season, we will have a Madden simulation. This week, we'll wind up dropping that on probably Thursday morning. But those typically drop on Saturdays throughout the regular season when it's a bit of a normal process and you're not playing on a Thursday. But just so you know, it's coming down the bend. Anyway, let's get to some early thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles. Take that off my face there. We're going to look at a lot of my tweets and things I shared today because it's a lot of information that makes sense to put up on the screen. So that being said, I love the tools at NFL Pro. Let me zoom out here so you can see. And something I really like is they do advantages for each and every single game. And this is a weird week to do it. I totally get it. But these are based on the way a season is going and the information at hand, the information that is available. So when it comes to week one, this is all the information from last year. And we can certainly argue, I know I have argued, how it's difficult to kind of compare this year's Cowboys to last year's Cowboys because it was Cooper Rush under center for most of it, not Dak Prescott. But as you can see, the Eagles have just about every single advantage. Offensively, defensively, their team ranks in the very top of most categories, and the Cowboys are not at the top, but in some cases, in some instances, at the very bottom. So this, on paper, reads like a game that Philadelphia is basically going to have their way with the Cowboys. And I know that we're all sad, or we're sad or upset or angry at a lot of things relative to this team and how the last few days have gone. But that being said, I think we all, in spite of everything, hate the Eagles more and want to see the Cowboys get some big wins against them. And so I should note that the last time the Eagles were defending Super Bowl champions and the Cowboys visited them in their home building, it was also a Sunday Night Football broadcast. That's what this is. A pet peeve of mine is when people call this game Thursday Night Football. It's technically Sunday Night Football. It's just taking place on the first Thursday. I know it's a Thursday night, but Thursday Night Football is its own thing. So this will be Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, Melissa Stark, the NBC Sunday Night Football crew, and the Cowboys. The game I'm talking about in 2018 went to Philly. Leighton Vander Esch, his rookie year, was when they were really kind of starting to catch fire after trading for Amari Cooper, and they won that game. So the Eagles have lost every game they've ever had at home against the Cowboys as defending Super Bowl champions. So hopefully that pattern holds true. Let's take a look at some more things, though. And this, I think, is a great way to contextualize what the Cowboys are going to be up against. And again, shout out to NFL Pro. Tyler Booker is going to be a big part of this game, and I know we're all very excited to see him. We basically moaned and groaned and almost, it seems, bullied the Cowboys into playing him in the preseason a little bit. But these are all, again, courtesy of NFL Pro. Tyler Booker in that preseason contest only allowed 2 pressures on 15 pass block attempts. He will be tasked with going up against one of the best interior linemen in the NFL in Jalen Carter, who had 45 pressures on almost 500 total pass rushes last year. Almost a 10% pressure rate. I know I'm rounding up in some instances there. That is maybe where the game is going to be won or lost for the Cowboys. If Dallas is able to ultimately stifle, hinder, mitigate the damage that I was going to say Tyler Booker, that Jalen Carter is able to do, I think they'll be, in a chance for Dak Prescott to give them opportunities to succeed. Let's keep looking here. And Dak is obviously going to be looking for George Pickens a lot. And I loved this note. So Dak Prescott, there was a lot more to this, and I think this is the most nuanced way of looking at this. Targeted a receiver with under 1 yard of separation. This is a tight throw, as NFL Pro defines it, on an NFL high 21.3% of pass attempts last year. Now, before you get all in your, Dak, whatever, I would offer that this is proof of anything, or if it's proof of anything, it's that Dak Prescott did not have receivers capable of separating last year. That has always been the problem, is Dak Prescott has been forced by necessity, by survival of the fittest, to ultimately have to, by Darwinism, right? Is that correct? I'm not like a biology expert or whatever, but you get my point. Like legitimate primal instincts, Dak Prescott has had to survive by throwing into tight windows. And on some level, it's improved his abilities as a passer, but last year was not a great one for him. Dak Prescott has thrown into tight windows on almost 18% of all passes since 2018, which is really the entire time that Dak has been one of the better passers in the NFL. That's the second most in the NFL in that span, which is a lot. But George Pickens, even if Dak Prescott is forced to continue to kind of play this way, George has caught 37 of 822 tight window targets for almost 700 yards and 2 touchdowns throughout his career to this point. Obviously, out with Pittsburgh, that is the second highest catch rate in the NFL among receivers with at least 40 such targets. So I think that when you do the math of everything, it's really obvious that George Pickens is an amazing deep ball threat. But what I think is more specifically interesting to the Cowboys and their potential successes in 2025 is that George Pickens is great at windows that are impossible to catch a football in. And more specifically, great at those types of catches when you're trying to avoid, obviously, DBs or whoever's guarding you. And so Dak Prescott's one of the best passers in the NFL in this respect. George Pickens is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL in this respect. I fully, totally, absolutely, unequivocally expect Dak Prescott and George Pickens to pull off some "what the hell are you doing? How did this even happen?" catches, not just on Thursday night against Philadelphia, but across the whole of this season. This is exactly who these players have been through their careers to this point. Obviously, Pickens' sample size is much smaller, but you're talking about Dak Prescott, one of the best tight window quarterbacks in the NFL. George Pickens, one of the best tight window receivers in the NFL. The fact that George Pickens can separate eliminates the need for tight windows to be a thing that they have to thrive and have success in. But it's really exciting to know that if things come down to that, Dak Prescott and George Pickens on paper project as one of the best combinations in the NFL in this respect. Let's get back to some notes, though, and put this back up on your screen. Let's climb on up. And this is over talking about Tyler Smith, not Tyler Booker. And I haven't messed these up too badly yet. It's a very difficult thing. Not like Kenny. I keep for whatever reason, keep calling Kenny Clark Kenny Rogers. I can't shake that. It's a very strange thing. But Tyler Smith has allowed the lowest pressure rate in the NFL when aligned at guard. This was an interesting note from NFL Pro over the last 2 seasons, which is like 98% of the time. But whatever. Either way, the Cowboys have quite possibly the best interior lineman in the NFL on their football team in Tyler Smith. And so that alleviates some of the pressure for Tyler Booker to ultimately rise and tackle, no pun intended, somebody like Jalen Carter individually. But if he can be even moderately good, then the Cowboys are dealing with, along with Cooper Beebe, obviously at the center of it all, one of the better interior fronts across the entire league, which is very important in general, certainly against teams like Philadelphia, but can be one of the reasons why this team does have success in 2025. Now let's get back to George Pickens and talk about his successes as a deep ball threat, because we talked about tight window respects. George Pickens ran deep routes, which NFL Pro defines as something that includes 20 or more air yards on 23.8% of his routes last season. Again, in Pittsburgh, a very different offense, very different passing style, very different quarterback play, obviously. That was the 7th highest mark in the NFL among players with at least 300 routes in this capacity. He was targeted on 30 of those and caught 15 of them, which is half, for 515 yards and a touchdown. Again, I really, really, really think that George Pickens is, I know I was against the trade and I've already apologized many times and I've tried to, explain my logic, but I really think it's possible that on Friday morning, I mean, let me take a breath and say this. I think it's possible on Friday morning that everybody is of an equally similar mindset, and it's, how did the Cowboys get George Pickens on the same team as Dak Prescott? CeeDee Lamb is amazing. CeeDee Lamb is one of the very best wide receivers in the NFL. He's like the 3rd best receiver in the NFL at absolute worst. George Pickens, though, was almost designed in a lab for what Dak Prescott does at the highest possible level relative to Dak Prescott's game. So to have both of these players, to have both of these caliber of players within the same offense, I really do think, it may not be Friday morning. The Cowboys may lose to the Eagles by 100 points, whatever, but there is absolutely going to be a time this season where the collective is going to go, holy crap, the Cowboys gave Dak Prescott his specific final infinity stone, and now we have fully unlocked his capabilities as a passer. Again, I don't want to say that I think CeeDee is better than George Pickens, because I think it's awesome that the Cowboys have them both. But I think in a weird way, George Pickens might be more custom tailored to Dak Prescott when he's in his bag, if that makes sense. CeeDee is amazing at all times. You don't have to be in your bag. That's what's so amazing about CeeDee. You could be having a bad day and he can make you look like a superhero. But George Pickens is just the perfect accent to the explicit qualities of Dak Prescott's game that are better than others, if that makes sense. So to get back to the point at hand, which is just kind of assessing this game in an overall perspective, like I said, CeeDee Lamb is awesome. I don't mean any of this to sound like it's a disparagement of CeeDee, but CeeDee forced 27 missed tackles on 115 touches last season, which was tied for the most among wide receivers with New York Jets wideout Garrett Wilson. This gave CeeDee an opportunity, and again, NFL Pro is fascinating with this. I love my membership there. An opportunity to gain 234 additional yards. That's crazy when you really think about it. Like, that's the difference when you break a tackle and you're not able to, is that you're able to pull off something like this. That's 44 more than the next closest, which was Deebo Samuel. By the way, CeeDee Lamb at this moment in his career has 21 games with 100 or more receiving yards. That is an absurd amount to have put together in such a short time in his first 5 seasons. If he has a solid enough season, CeeDee might finish this year second highest, or in second by himself, solo second, if I could put my words together in a proper fashion, behind only Michael Irvin. Irvin has 47 games with 100 receiving yards or more for the Cowboys. So that's a long way for CeeDee Lamb to have to climb, but I certainly believe that CeeDee can have at least 5 games this year, which is what he needs to get that mark with 100 more receiving yards, but we will see. Let's get back. I don't know that you care about this a ton. I don't know that anybody cares about this a ton. I think this is cool, but it doesn't make anybody feel good. The Cowboys and Eagles are meeting in primetime for the 32nd time on Thursday night. It is the most primetime meetings between 2 teams in NFL history. This is the one that had people in their feelings, if that's not obvious by the Twitter engagement, and that's that Dak Prescott is 33-8 against NFC East competition so far throughout his career. And since 2016, granted, not every quarterback has been in the NFL that long. In fact, Dak is the longest tenured starter with his respective team, because obviously players like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson exist. But Dak has the most, or second most wins, against division rivals of all quarterbacks since 2016. Patrick Mahomes has the most. What a disparaging fact that is for Dak to be trailing Patrick Mahomes. And finally, of note, because some people find this interesting, the Cowboys will be wearing their white jerseys on Thursday night, while the Eagles will be wearing their green. Ultimately, I think look, like, it's been really bad, right, for the Cowboys, not just the trade, but like it's been exhausting to be a Cowboys fan. I would say, training camp started off really strong and everybody was talking about Donovan Zaraku and Kyrie Lamb and things were going great. And then Jerry and Steven opened their mouths to talk about Micah, and it just was this cloud hanging over everything and consuming all points of oxygen ever since. And you can argue that officially ended when he was traded away. Obviously, there's some dust settling and some fallout in the wake of everything, but obviously it's all starting to kind of get sorted into its own place. And so it kind of feels like everything's all about football again. And some of that is just the fact that week one is here, but winning is such a powerful thing. And I recognize how crazy or silly it sounds to suggest or intimate that the Cowboys could win on Thursday night. They're a touchdown underdog, depending on exactly where you look, but in an approximate sense. But if the Cowboys were to win, especially having the mini bye because they play on a Thursday night, I mean, it would fix a lot, like not in a permanent sense, but it would be like being on this, the side of the road stranded and putting on the temporary tire and getting somewhere where you could fully take a breath and get everything together in a full and official and, permanent sense, because that's what this team kind of needs. It's nice for them to get back to football operations, but for them to go out, show out, and if they were to, hypothetically play well and hypothetically get the win, I do think it would be a matter of, dude, this feels awesome. Wow, what a way to just kind of figure out life moving forward. And then you can really start to get ahead of yourself and think, oh, the Giants are up next. Maybe the 2-0 start is possible, right? Like the opportunities all of a sudden feel endless if you just get that one win. And so again, the Cowboys are massive underdogs in this game against Philadelphia. I'm not trying to present anything other than that, but what I am trying to say is that winning is that powerful, that if they were to win this game, it would make a lot of people, I imagine the people in the building, first and foremost, feel really good and like the sky was no longer falling on top of them. On the subject of Micah, though, I mentioned it. We do have to kind of put some things in their proper place. And this was making the rounds. And so let's look at this as I put this up on your screen. Whoops, didn't mean to break that. So a lot of people had a lot of thoughts on this, and we're not going to spend too much time here, but this is Micah's first practice with the Packers, as noted by Rob Demovsky of ESPN on Monday. You see him wearing number 1 and all this different stuff. Again, we're only talking about this as the dust settles. I promise we're moving on. This isn't going to be, there won't be much Micah talk until September 28th, I suppose, or week 4 when the Cowboys play the Packers for obvious reasons. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's my job to tell you the way things are as I see them, right? And I appreciate your time being here and giving me your time. I promise, something I don't take lightly. There were so many people who thought they were quick-witted by saying things like, well, guess the back injury healed up, guess the back injury is totally fine, blah, blah. Do you really think there was a back injury? Like, that's my real question. I mean, I'm like, let me be very clear here. I'm not like, I am in no way offering an opinion on the back injury and whether it was real, whether it was fake, whether I think it was cool, whether I think it wasn't cool. But I guess I am offering an opinion on whether it was real or fake, because do you really think it was real? Do you really think it wasn't a part of the contractual negotiation, the contractual back and forth, whatever? Like, Terry McLaurin had an injury. Like, we see this all the time. Like, it wasn't like the responses were so, obvious, but they were all the same. And like, oh, that back healed up really quick. Yeah. Like, the back thing never seemed to be real. The back thing always seemed to be a way to disguise what was truly going on. And again, whether you agree with that or not, it's up to you. I don't think that you are right or wrong in your opinion, however you feel. But the idea that like he was really, again, I just find it to be absurd. Now, I find this part of it all to be absurd, and this was the reason I brought it up, was as soon as this footage started to kind of make its way out of Micah practicing with the Packers, people obviously started to make these comments, and then this came out from Adam Schefter and the like. If we paraphrase here, Packers linebacker Micah blah blah has been dealing with an L4, L5 facet joint sprain in his back, and he may take an epidural injection prior to Sunday's game versus the Lions as needed to help him play before trading Parsons, blah, blah, blah. There was another tweet here that I wanted to get to. This is from Ian Rappaport, and this kind of targets the point that I'm trying to make. Ian says, while most assumed Micah's hold-in was due to a phony, Ian used the word phony here, due to a phony back problem, it was instead partially due to a real back problem. He will continue physical therapy in Green Bay. I think that the inclusion of the word partially is hedging here, by the way. Like, again, you can I'm not telling you what to do or what to think. You can think that Micah's back injury was real. You can think Micah's back injury was fake. You can think it was all part of contractual negotiations. You can think whatever you want, like I said. But I think we can all acknowledge that the contractual negotiations were a part of it. And again, whether you think that was fair or warranted or honorable or noble or whatever is totally up to you. But again, this idea kind of smells, of one thing. And so I think we could just say that out loud. We don't have to pretend or whatever. I mean, one of the top NFL insiders in the game literally said that people thought it was phony, and then immediately after said that it was partially true. So that would also suggest that it was partially phony at the minimum. So it is what it is. Like, sure, let's all move on, but let's just acknowledge what it was, acknowledge what it is, or was or wasn't, or whatever, and be straight up about it, right? Like, we don't have to dance around it and pretend like it was this thing or it wasn't this thing that it was or it wasn't. I know that's hard to follow and hard to track and hard to make sense of, but that's just, I find it silly. It's ultimately what it comes down to. But at the end of the day, the Cowboys have 2 first-round picks, which are going to turn into 2 10-time All-Pros, and Kenny Clark, who is going to be the best run-stopping defensive tackle in the NFL this year. Obviously, that goes without saying. Cool. So I am starting to get the butterflies. I'm starting to get excited. I'm starting to feel like it's a game week, if that isn't obvious. That's why it was kind of exciting to talk about the Eagles game and some statistics and some notes and different kind of points of interest in my mind. It's weird because it's happening so fast because it's Thursday and today's already Monday. It's the end of Monday. It's a holiday too, right? Like, it's just a lot going on, which is why I'm grateful for you. The constant we have in each other's lives are each other, so we can lean on one another and make it through. It's going to be an exciting week. NFC East mixtape on Tuesday, Aaron Andrews on Wednesday, Madden simulation Thursday morning, and Thursday night after the game, Dallas Cowboys post-game show. And obviously anything else is needed will be here as well, or on my socials. I am on X, Instagram, and Threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok, RJ.Ochoa. If email's more your thing, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment. I'll make sure to respond to those as I can, and check out bloggingtheboys.com for the latest and greatest in Dallas Cowboys news, discussion, and analysis. For now, I bid you all adieu. I hope you have a wonderful day. I can't wait to see you soon enough. And I'm going to go get some more coffee because it's quite the week already. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you next time.